What are some albums that inspired you growing up?
Tim Buckley, Greetings from LA was one of the first ones. My mum and dad started playing me when I was younger. Lots of Eagles, lots of, there's some obvious ones, some Farnham Records and things like that, Little River Band, all those things that came through my family. The band is my number one of all time. My dog's called Danko. What else have I got there? Lots of Beatles. The whole Beatles catalogue. McCartney is the reason I wear pants, just in case he rings my doorbell.
You sort of, I suppose, did your apprenticeship with the band The Sparrows?
Yes.
What sort of things did you learn from being in that band?
We learnt, we had a very quick rise, and we signed with Sony very quickly. And then we learned some lessons there. We went to San Francisco and recorded with Jeff Saltzman, our debut record. And what we'd done was, I think we were signed as almost like a Brit pop band, and then we matured over those couple of years that we were sitting around with them and became a rock blues band. And so they'd sort of signed a different beast, but our music developed there out of necessity. We were playing lots and lots of gigs around Australia where Britpop wasn't so hot, if you will, and evolved to drown out the crowds with louder, more raucous rock and roll.
The move to LA, why did you do that?
The move to LA, I felt as though I'd sort of been banging my head against a brick wall going up and down this east coast here for about 3 years solo, and then countless times with the Sparrows and my band before that, Rush Cutter, as well. And I just thought, if I have to go down through and play all these gigs one more time this year in vain, I thought I'd gonna lose my mind. I wanted to play somewhere new. I'd started going into a more country sort of Laurel Canyon vibe and reading up, and I just wanted to be immersed around the people that really inspired me as well.
Yeah. The album Cast of Yesterday to me seems very LA. Do you think it would have been a very different album if you'd stayed in Australia?
Funnily enough, there are only 2 songs that I'd put on that album since moving to Los Angeles. The rest of them were all recorded here in Melbourne and pretty much written around the same time. There were a number of other songs that didn't make the cut that were a lot newer that I had done in Los Angeles, which were a different direction. So we made a decision to keep it very cohesive and just use those songs that I'd written earlier all around the same time frame to sort of capture a period in time, and they do sit together a lot better.
Going by your website, the album was going to be called Pillar to Post.
Yes, it was. Yep.
And now it's Cast of Yesterday.
Yes.
What happened?
Pillar to Post was one of those very new songs that I loved, that I thought that really is probably my finest moment as a songwriter. It's the song I'm most proud about writing, and it's not on my first record. And this was a decision that I pined over and argued with people tooth and nail about a great deal, especially my father. And we decided, like I said, to keep it as a period in time. And you've got these songs and look forward to the second record. You don't have to hit them with everything up front. So that was the logic behind that. And the song was written about, I literally had it from pillar to post. It was quite an angry song, and the rest of the record wasn't angry. It was more a reflection on the people and the travelling that I'd done as a solo artist over those last couple of years.
Your lyrics, you like to rhyme.
Yes, I do like to rhyme.
Does that become difficult sometimes? Do you agonise over?
Look, if I start to rhyme and I start compromising the lyrics, I'll just put the song aside for a little bit. But I've got this little thing called a mild case of OCD, and I've got, my number has to be 4. Things do have to rhyme, and if they don't rhyme, I need them to, I don't know, complete. They need to be finished in my mind, and for me it just happens to be rhyming. And another thing is, I bet you're going to mention, is that I string so many colloquial phrases together. I could literally probably put tons in a hat and draw them out and string them together. I know that a lot of people bring that up.
There's some great atmospheric guitar going through the track 78 Bends. Mm-hmm. Who's playing that? And,
that's Dorian West. And he actually came in at the very last minute. It was literally the night before we'd finished the record in Sing Sing, and my pedal steel player couldn't make it. He actually had a back injury, and couldn't sit over the pedal steel. So we panicked a little bit, and Dorian, who was working for, I think it's X Factor, and he was actually in the studio next door, and we were playing table tennis against him. And he's probably one of the most unbelievable table tennis players you'll ever come across. And he said, well, heck, I can come in and finish that off for you. He goes, what do you need? And I said, maybe just, some pedal steel and a few things like that. He came in and played it all.
The acoustic sound on the company that we keep is an different sounding acoustic sound than the other tracks.
Yeah.
Did you mic it differently, a different guitar?
We didn't. We used the same acoustic on every single song there, and that's a 1955 0017 Martin. And it was my father's, and just left around the house, and we got that set up. I've been using that for years live. We mic'd that up with just a ribbon and a U67 Neumann. We did all that the same. However, I think we did dirt that up a little bit and double it. Whereas the rest of the time we didn't really, in the mixing that I did with Nico, we actually stripped back most of the doubling guitars and things that we did that, and actually took off probably about half the production value essentially in the mixing.
Yeah. So what guitars did you use on the album?
The acoustic that I used was the 55 Martin. That is literally on every song. The other guitar that I used when playing the electric was an airline guitar, a resonator, the Folkstar. The rest of the time, Michael Badger's playing a Crockenbacker, which is one of those Rickenbacker copies. I think the guy makes them in Melbourne, and that was just the magical go-to guitar that we ended up using on a great deal of things.
There's actually a lot happening in the background in the mix. Was that the plan from the get-go?
A lot of ambience, a lot of that. You know what? That comes a lot from Michael Badger, again, who's in a psychedelic band called the Demon Parade, and he just loves mucking around and trying to figure things out like that. And Paul as well. Paul gets all the sounds right before we're going in there, and he created that ambience and wasn't afraid to experiment with a lot of things like that.
So you're taking these songs out on the road, what's the band going to consist of?
It's going to be just me on the road. Live I play my Maton 808. I've just been given a Gibson J35 as well by the kind folks at Gibson, which I'm very excited to road test. It's a lot bigger, it's a lot fuller, and I think that was going to help me live. I also use obviously the harmonica and a stomp box, a Wasinator, that I found when I was up in Byron Bay.
Apart from the album and the tour, what else is happening for the rest of the year?
For the rest of the year, I go back and I launch this back over in Los Angeles again. I'm focusing primarily on Los Angeles and California. That's enough for me right now than sending myself around Middle America and the East Coast. I'll need some help with that, I think. And then I'll be coming back in the summer and getting the band back together and actually performing some bigger shows in a couple of festivals around there.
All right, Tim, thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.